the ring box set open between them, the diamond catching the restaurant's soft lighting. Marcus's face was full of hope and certainty, and Zara couldn't breathe. "I." The word came out as barely a whisper. Marcus leaned forward, his smile growing. "I know this is surprising. I wanted it to be special, in the city you've been loving so much. So what do you say? Will you marry me?" Zara's phone buzzed again in her lap. She didn't need to look to know it was Miho. The weight of two choices, two futures, two completely different versions of herself pressed down on her chest. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." His smile faltered slightly. "Okay. How did you confess to betraying someone? How did you destroy a man's proposal with the truth?" "I've been thinking a lot this trip. About us. About our future. That's good, right? That's what this is about." He gestured to the ring, still hopeful, still believing this was just nerves. "I don't think I can say yes." The words hung between them like shattered glass. Marcus's expression went from hopeful to confused to something darker in the span of seconds. "What? Zara, is this cold feet? Because that's normal. We can." "It's not cold feet." She forced herself to look at him, to give him the honesty he deserved even if it was 4 years too late. "Marcus, when you asked me what I'd say, I realized I don't know. And that's the answer, isn't it? If I have to think about it, if I'm not immediately sure, then something's wrong. Something's wrong." His voice had an edge now. "We've been together for years. For years, Zara. I've been patient. I've been supportive. I've given you everything. What more do you want?" "I don't know," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "That's the problem. I don't know what I want, but I know it's not fair to you to say yes when I'm not sure." Marcus closed the ring box with a snap that sounded like a gunshot. "Is there someone else?" The question made her flinch. She should lie, should protect him from that additional pain. But hadn't she lied enough? "I met someone. Here in Seoul." The confession came out broken. "It was one night, I was drunk, and I made a terrible mistake. But Marcus, that's not why I can't say yes. That's just what made me realize I was already unsure before I ever came here." His face went through a series of emotions: shock, hurt, anger, betrayal. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. People at nearby tables were starting to stare. "You cheated on me." His voice was low, dangerous. "You came to Seoul, cheated on me, and now you're turning down my proposal because of some random guy you fucked while drunk? It's not about him. It's about me realizing that I've been going through the motions with you. That I care about you, but I don't love you the way I should. That you deserve someone who's absolutely certain, and I'm not that person." "For years," he repeated, his voice breaking now, the anger cracking to reveal the hurt underneath. "4 years of my life. I planned this proposal for weeks. I told my parents I was going to ask you. I bought this ring 3 months ago and carried it around waiting for the perfect moment. And you're telling me it meant nothing?" "It meant something, Marcus. It meant everything at one point. But people change, feelings change, and I should have been honest with you sooner instead of letting it get this far." Tears streamed down Zara's face. "I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. You deserve someone who doesn't have to think about saying yes." Marcus laughed bitterly, running his hand through his hair. "I thought you were the one. I told everyone you were the one. My mom has already been talking about grandchildren. My dad keeps asking when I'm going to make it official. Do you know how humiliating this is?" "I know. And I'm sorry. But isn't it better to know now than after we're married? After we've built even more of a life together that isn't right? Don't." His voice was sharp. "Don't try to make this sound noble. You cheated on me, Zara. In Seoul. After I told you to have fun, to enjoy yourself. I trusted you completely, and you destroyed that trust for some stranger. I did destroy it, and I have to live with that. But Marcus, even before Seoul, something was wrong. I just didn't want to admit it because admitting it meant disappointing everyone. My parents love you. My friends think we're perfect. It was easier to pretend everything was fine than to face the truth." "What truth?" His eyes were red now, tears threatening. "That you don't love me? That our entire relationship was a lie?" "Not a lie. I did love you in my way. I do care about you. But it's not the kind of love that makes you excited about forever. It's comfortable. It's safe. It's what makes sense on paper. And that's not enough. Not for either of us." Marcus wiped his eyes roughly. "I can't believe this is happening. I flew across the world to surprise you, to give you this perfect moment, and instead I'm getting dumped in a restaurant full of strangers. I'm sorry," she whispered again, knowing the words were inadequate, knowing nothing she could say would make this hurt less. "You're a good man, Marcus. You're going to find someone who loves you without question, someone who's sure. I'm just not that person." He stared at her for a long moment, his jaw working. Then he picked up the ring box, snapped it shut, and put it back in his pocket. I'm going to the hotel, getting my things, and flying home tonight. Don't contact me. Don't call. Don't try to explain or apologize again. We're done. Completely done. Okay, she managed, her voice breaking. And Zara? I hope he's worth it. I hope this guy in Seoul is worth throwing away 4 years and breaking my heart. Because if he's not, if this was all for nothing, you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. He threw cash on the table, more than enough to cover the meal, and walked out without looking back. Zara watched him go, watched the future she'd been building for 4 years walk out the door, and felt relief mixed with crushing guilt. The restaurant staff was openly staring now. Other diners whispered. A woman at the next table looked at her with a mixture of pity and judgment. Zara stood on shaking legs, grabbed her purse, and walked out into Seoul's night air. She made it half a block before she had to stop, leaning against a building as sobs racked her body. She'd just destroyed someone. Someone who'd loved her, who'd planned a proposal, who'd flown across the world to surprise her. She was the villain of this story, and she deserved every bit of judgment coming her way. Her phone buzzed. Miho, where are you? She shouldn't respond. Shouldn't run from Marcus straight into the arms of the man who'd catalyzed this disaster. Running from one man to another made her exactly the kind of person she hated. But her fingers moved anyway, desperate for someone who might understand. Bella Vista Restaurant. Marcus just left. I said no. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, stay there. I'm coming. She should have said no. Should have told him she needed space. Instead, she slid down the wall and sat on the sidewalk, not caring about her dress or how she looked, just trying to breathe through the guilt and relief and confusion. 15 minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up. Miho got out, took one look at her sitting on the sidewalk with mascara running down her face, and sat down beside her without a word. Not touching her, just sitting there, a steady presence in her chaos. I heard him, she said finally, her voice hoarse. I really heard him. He flew here to propose and I turned him down and told him I cheated, and I could see his heart breaking, and I did that. I'm a terrible person. You're not terrible. You're human. And you were honest, which took more courage than lying would have. Doesn't feel like courage. Feels like cruelty. Sometimes honesty is cruel, but prolonged dishonesty is crueler. Miho pulled out a handkerchief, an actual cloth handkerchief, and handed it to her. You could have said yes. Could have married him and spent the next 50 years wondering what if. Instead, you freed both of you to find something real. He doesn't feel freed. He feels destroyed. Right now, yes. But eventually, he'll realize you did him a favor. That marrying someone who wasn't sure would have been worse than a broken engagement. Zara wiped her face with the handkerchief, smearing makeup everywhere. Why are you here? Why do you care about some random woman who's clearly a disaster? Because you're not random. And you're not a disaster. You're someone who's been brave enough to choose honesty over comfort, and that's rare. He finally looked at her, his dark eyes soft. And because I told you this wasn't over, and I meant it, I just broke someone's heart. I'm not exactly girlfriend material right now. I'm not asking you to be my girlfriend. I'm asking if you want to get off this sidewalk and let me buy you some terrible street food while you process what just happened. Despite everything, Zara laughed. It came out watery and broken, but it was a laugh. Street food. The best way to process emotional trauma is with questionable meat on a stick. Trust me, I have experience. She let him pull her to her feet. They walked in silence for a few blocks until they reached a night market, alive with vendors and music and the smell of grilling food. Miho bought them skewers and sweet pancakes and bottles of some juice she couldn't identify. They found a bench away from the crowds, and Zara ate mechanically, letting the normalcy of the act ground her. Tell me about him, Miho said after a while. Marcus, what was he like? Why do you want to know? Because he was important to you for 4 years. That matters. Zara thought about it. Really thought about who Marcus was beyond the breakup. He was kind, stable. He had his life together, good job, good family, good everything. He made my parents happy, which was important to them. We fit together in all the ways that look good from the outside. But he never challenged me, never pushed me to be more than what I was. He was content with surface-level everything, surface-level conversations, surface-level dreams, surface-level intimacy. And I let myself be content with it because it was easy, because everyone approved, because changing it would have been hard. What did he think you were going to do with your life? Work at my father's company, eventually have kids, be the perfect corporate wife. Which is fine. It's what a lot of people want. It's just not what I wanted, and I was too scared to admit that. Are you still scared? Zara considered this. Terrified. I just blew up my entire life. Everyone's going to hate me. My parents are going to be furious. Marcus's family will think I'm awful. My friends will take sides. And I have to go home tomorrow and face all of that. You don't have to go home tomorrow. She looked at him. What? Stay in Seoul. For a few more days, a week, however long you need. Give yourself space to process before you walk back into that storm. I can't just stay. I have work, responsibilities. Do you? Or do you have a job at your father's company that you don't really want? Working toward a future you just admitted you're not sure about? His voice was gentle but direct. I'm not saying run away forever. I'm saying give yourself time to breathe before you face the firing squad. The idea was tempting. Dangerously tempting. My friends are leaving tomorrow. I'd be here alone. No, you wouldn't. I'm here. Miho, you barely know me. Why would you want to spend time with a woman who just destroyed her relationship? Because that woman also just chose herself over everyone else's expectations. Because she was brave enough to be honest even when it cost her everything. Because I see something in her that I don't think she sees in herself yet. He turned to face her fully. And because maybe I'm lonely too, and maybe I'd like to spend time with someone who understands what it's like to be trapped by the life everyone else thinks you should live. Zara's phone buzzed. Messages flooding in. Her friends, probably hearing from Marcus. Her mom, almost certainly already disappointed. The real world demanding she return and explain herself. She looked at the phone, then at Miho, then at Seoul spread out around them. A city where no one knew her story, no one had expectations, no one was judging her yet. 3 days, she heard herself say. I'll stay 3 more days. But not because of you. Because of me. Because I need to figure out who I am before I go back and face everyone. Fair enough. But I'm still going to be around. Someone needs to make sure you eat and don't spend 3 days spiraling in a hotel room. Is that what you do? Take care of disasters. No. But I make an exception for disasters who challenge me to drinking contests and win. His smile was soft, genuine. Come on. Let's walk more. Seoul's beautiful at night, and you're going to need good memories of this city to balance out the bad ones. They walked for hours, Miho playing tour guide, showing her neighborhoods and streets she'd never seen during her bachelorette trip. He told her stories about the city, about his childhood here, about the person he used to be versus who he was trying to become. I told him I couldn't marry him. Then I told him about you. She laughed bitterly. 4 years gone in 5 minutes. Do you regret it? She expected to feel crushing regret. Expected to immediately want to take it all back. Instead, she felt something unexpected, relief. No, she admitted quietly. I feel terrible for hurting him, but I don't regret being honest. I should have been honest months ago, years maybe. I was just too scared. Miho reached across the table, taking her hand. That took courage. Real courage. Most people would have said yes and spent the rest of their lives wondering what if. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm not saying I turned him down for you, Miho. I turned him down for me. Because drunk me on that video was right. I was about to choose safe over happy. I know. And I'm not here to pressure you into anything. His thumb traced circles on her hand. But I am here. If you want me to be. I leave tomorrow. I go back to a life where everyone's going to hate me for breaking Marcus's heart. My parents loved him. My friends thought we were perfect together. I'm going to be the villain in everyone's story. Or you're going to be the woman who was brave enough to choose herself. Perspective matters, beautiful. Zara looked at him. This man who'd somehow become the catalyst for her entire life imploding. I still barely know you. We had one night together. One drunken night where I can't even remember half of what happened. Then let's fix that. Miho stood, offering his hand. You have 1 day left in Seoul. Spend it with me. Sober. Clear-headed. Get to know the real me. Let me know the real you. Then tomorrow, you go home and figure out your life. But at least you'll know. Know what? If what we have is real or just chemistry born from crisis. She should say no. Should go back to her hotel, pack her things, process what just happened. Instead, she took his hand. They left the restaurant and walked through Seoul's nighttime streets. Not touching beyond their linked hands, just walking and talking. Really talking, the way they had that first night, but with the clarity of sobriety. Tell me about your family, Zara said. Miho was quiet for a moment. My father built an empire, legal and illegal. He wanted me to take over, to continue his legacy. I've spent my entire adult life doing things I'm not proud of because it was expected. Because walking away meant betraying family, honor, everything I was raised to value. But you want to walk away? I want to be more than what I was born into. That's why I'm in therapy, why I'm trying to find a way out that doesn't get me killed. It's complicated and dangerous, and some days I don't know if it's even possible. But I keep trying. That's brave. Most people just accept the life they're given. Like you were accepting Marcus? He glanced at her. We're not that different, Zara. Both trapped by expectations. Both scared to choose ourselves. And somewhere around 3 a.m., sitting on a bridge overlooking the Han River, Zara realized she was actually enjoying herself. Despite the guilt, despite the chaos, despite everything, she felt lighter than she had in years. Thank you, she said quietly. For tonight. For not judging me. For just being here. Thank you for staying. For giving yourself permission to breathe before facing the storm. He looked at her, and in the lamplight his features were softer, more open. And Zara? Whatever happens after tonight, whatever you decide about your life, about us, about everything, remember this feeling. This freedom. Don't let anyone take it from you again. She nodded, tears threatening again, but for different reasons this time. I won't. I promise. He drove her back to her hotel as the sun started to rise. In the lobby, they stood facing each other, the exhaustion of the emotional night catching up with both of them. Get some sleep, Miho said. Then call me when you wake up. We'll figure out the next 3 days together. Together, she repeated, testing the word. That sounds nice. It does. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Sleep well, beautiful. Tomorrow's going to be better. She went upstairs, collapsed into bed, and slept for 12 hours straight. The next 3 days were a blur of discovery and healing. Miho kept his word. He showed her soul beyond the tourist spots. Took her to art galleries where she stood in front of paintings and felt something wake up inside her. Took her to quiet tea houses where they talked for hours about everything and nothing. They went to a pottery class where they both made terrible lopsided bowls and laughed until their stomachs hurt. They hiked to a temple in the mountains where the silence was so profound it felt like meditation. They visited bookstores and markets and hidden gardens that tourists never saw. And slowly, Zara started to remember who she used to be. The girl who loved art and dreamed of painting. The woman who had ambitions beyond being someone's perfect partner. The person she'd buried under expectations and obligation. On the second night, sitting in a tiny restaurant that served the best bibimbap she'd ever tasted, Miho asked her about her art. You mentioned you wanted to paint, he said. What happened to that dream? Zara picked at her food, memories flooding back. I got accepted to art school. Full scholarship, everything. My parents were furious. Said it was impractical, that I'd never make money, that I needed something stable. They wanted me to get a business degree, work at my father's firm, be respectable. And you agreed? I caved. I was 18 and scared, and I thought they knew better. So I gave up the scholarship, got the business degree, became the daughter they wanted me to be. And I haven't picked up a paintbrush in 3 years. That's criminal, Miho said, and he looked genuinely angry. To have a gift and bury it because someone else decided it wasn't valuable. It felt like the right choice at the time. The responsible choice. Responsible to who? To your parents, to their idea of success. But what about being responsible to yourself? To your talent? To the part of you that needs to create? He leaned forward. Zara, when was the last time you were truly happy? Not comfortable, not content. Happy. She thought about it, really thought about it. I don't remember. Maybe before I gave up art. Maybe never. Then maybe it's time to find out what happy feels like. The words sat between them, heavy with possibility. That night, back in her hotel room, Zara did something impulsive. She went online and ordered art supplies. Had them shipped to her address back home. She didn't know what she was going to do with them, but ordering them felt like a small rebellion, a tiny step toward the person she used to dream of being. On the third day, her last day in Seoul before she had to go home, Miho took her to a gallery opening. His friend was showing. A painter whose work explored themes of identity and transformation. Zara stood in front of the paintings, transfixed. The artist had captured something she felt but couldn't articulate, the struggle between who you are and who you're expected to be. The pain of transformation. The beauty of choosing yourself. This, she whispered to Miho. This is what I want to do. I want to make people feel something. Want to capture truth on canvas. So do it. It's not that simple. I have a job, responsibilities, a life. A life you just admitted makes you miserable. A job working for your father doing work you hate. Responsibilities that feel like chains. He turned her to face him. Zara, you just blew up your entire relationship because you were brave enough to be honest. Don't lose that courage now. If you want to paint, paint. If you want to change your life, change it. Stop waiting for permission from people who will never give it. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I'm not good enough? What if I gave it up for nothing and I don't actually have talent? Then you'll know. But what if you are good enough? What if you're extraordinary and you never find out because you were too scared to try? His hands framed her face. I've known you for less than a week, and even I can see you're meant for more than what you're settling for. So be scared. Be terrified. But try anyway. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. When did you get so wise? Therapy. Lots of therapy. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. Come on, let's get out of here. I want to show you one more place before you leave tomorrow. He took her to his apartment, the penthouse where this had all started. But this time, she was sober, clear-headed, fully present. He led her to the balcony overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. This is my favorite view, he said. When everything in my life feels complicated and dark, I come out here and remember the world is bigger than my problems. They stood in comfortable silence, the city alive below them. Finally, Zara spoke. I don't know what happens now. I go home tomorrow and face everyone. My parents are going to be furious. Marcus's family will hate me. I'll probably lose friends. My dad might fire me. Everything's going to be messy and complicated and hard. Probably, Miho agreed. But I don't regret it. Any of it. Not Seoul. Not you. Not turning down Marcus. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm living instead of just existing. Good. Hold on to that feeling. You're going to need it when things get difficult. She turned to look at him. This man who'd somehow become important in just a few days. What are we, Miho? What is this? Honestly, I don't know. We barely know each other. You live halfway across the world. You're processing a breakup. I'm trying to rebuild my life into something legitimate. On paper, we're a terrible idea. But I haven't felt this connected to someone in years. Maybe ever. And I'm not ready to let that go just because the timing is terrible and the logistics are complicated. So what do we do? He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. She fit against him perfectly, her head on his chest, his chin on her head. You go home. You deal with the fallout. You figure out who Zara is without Marcus, without your parents' expectations. You paint. You rebuild. You become the person you're meant to be. And you? I keep doing the same. Keep separating myself from my family's business. Keep building something I'm not ashamed of. Keep trying to become someone worthy of a woman like you. You're already worthy, she said into his chest. I'm getting there. But I have work to do. We both do. And after we've both figured ourselves out. Then if you still think about me, if you still feel this connection, if you're still curious about what we could be, we figure it out. Long distance, someone moving, whatever it takes. But not until we're both ready. Until we're both whole people instead of disasters finding comfort in each other. It made sense. It was mature, rational, the right thing to do. But it also hurt. I don't want to leave you, she admitted. I don't want you to leave either. But you need to go home and face your life. And I need to keep fixing mine. This isn't goodbye, Zara. It's see you later. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other, the city lights twinkling below them like stars. I wanted to be an artist, Zara confessed. A painter. I was good too. But my parents said it wasn't practical. So I got a business degree, got a corporate job, became who they needed me to be. And I haven't painted in 3 years. That's criminal. Miho pulled out his phone, showed her his background, a sketch he'd done of the city skyline. I draw. Not well, but enough to remember I'm human underneath everything else. That's beautiful, she breathed. So are you. When you're being yourself instead of who everyone expects. He turned to face her fully. Last night, drunk you was the most alive person I'd ever met. She challenged me, made me laugh, saw me instead of what I represent. That's who I want to know. Real Zara. I don't know if I know who that is anymore. Then maybe we figure it out together. They talked until the sun started to rise, until Zara's phone was dead from her friends frantically trying to reach her, until reality started creeping back in with the daylight. I have to go home today, she said quietly. Face everything I just destroyed. I know. And you're here, in Seoul, living a life I can't be part of. For now, but I'm working on that. Working on becoming someone who could have a real life, a real relationship. Someone worthy of a woman like you. Miho, I'm not asking you to wait for me. I'm not asking for promises. I just want you to know that last night wasn't meaningless to me. This night wasn't meaningless. You showed me what I've been missing, what I'm fighting for. So thank you. Zara felt tears streaming down her face again. What do we do now? You go home. You deal with the fallout. You figure out who you are without Marcus, without your parents' expectations. You maybe pick up a paintbrush again. He brushed a tear from her cheek. And if, when the dust settles, you still think about me, about us, about what we could be, then we figure it out. That's not very concrete. Love rarely is. He stood, pulling her up with him. Come on. I'll take you back to your hotel. The drive back was quiet, both of them processing everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. When they arrived, Miho walked her into the lobby. This is it, then, Zara said, not ready to let go but knowing she had to. For now, he pulled her into a hug, and she let herself melt into it, memorizing the feel of his arms around her, his scent, the steady beat of his heart. Be brave, beautiful. Choose yourself, even when it's scary, especially when it's scary. I'll try. He pulled back, looked at her like he was memorizing her face, then kissed her. Not desperate or hungry like their drunken kisses. Soft, sweet, full of promise and goodbye in equal measure. When he pulled away, they were both crying. Go, she whispered. Before I ask you to stay. Would you? Ask me to stay? Yes. But that wouldn't be fair to either of us. We both have lives to fix first. Miho nodded, stepping back. Then I'll see you when we're both ready. He walked away, and Zara watched him go, feeling like her heart was being ripped from her chest and liberated at the same time. The flight home was torture. Keisha sat beside her, full of questions Zara couldn't fully answer. Marcus had apparently called everyone, told his version of the story. By the time she landed, her phone exploded with messages. Her mother, how could you do this to Marcus? He's devastated. Her father, we need to talk. This behavior is unacceptable. Her friends, various versions of shock, disappointment, and in Keisha's case, cautious support. The next few weeks were hell. Her parents barely spoke to her. Marcus's friends openly hated her. At work, people whispered. She was the girl who'd cheated on her perfect boyfriend on a bachelorette trip. The villain. The one who'd thrown away 4 years for a vacation fling. Some days she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. If she should have just said yes to Marcus and lived the life everyone expected. But then she'd remember that video. Drunk her telling her to be brave. Miho telling her she deserved to feel alive. And she'd remember that she'd made the right choice, even if it was the hard one. A month after Seoul, Zara did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She bought art supplies, set up an easel in her apartment, and painted. At first, her hands were stiff, uncertain. But slowly, the muscle memory returned. The joy of creating something from nothing. The honesty of putting her emotions on canvas. She painted Seoul's skyline at night. The park where she and Miho had talked until sunrise. The moment Marcus had opened the ring box. Her own face, split between who she was and who she pretended to be. Her apartment became a gallery of her emotional processing, and slowly, she started to feel like herself again. Real Zara, not the version she'd been performing for everyone else. She quit her corporate job. Her parents were horrified, but Zara was done living for their approval. She got a job at a local gallery, started showing her own work at small exhibitions. It wasn't lucrative, wasn't stable, wasn't what anyone expected. It was perfect. 3 months after Seoul, her phone buzzed with an international number. Her heart stopped, but it wasn't Miho. It was a gallery owner in Seoul. Mr. Kong speaks highly of your work. Would you be interested in showing at our gallery? We have an opening in 6 months for an exhibition on modern perspectives of duality. Zara stared at the message. Miho. He'd somehow seen her work, made this connection, created this opportunity. The email included a contract, terms, everything she'd need to spend a month in Seoul preparing for the show. She should say no. Should stay in her new but still fragile life. Should avoid the complication of seeing Miho again. Instead, she typed, I'm interested. Send me the details. If you're screaming right now, drop a comment below telling me if Zara should go back to Seoul or stay home and protect her peace. Hit that subscribe button because I'm not telling you if they end up together. You'll have to wait for part 3 to find out if this story has a happy ending. And trust me, what happens when she goes back to Seoul? You won't believe it. 6 months later, Zara stood in a Seoul gallery, her paintings on the walls around her. The exhibition was called Two Selves and explored the duality of who we are versus who we pretend to be. Critics loved it. Collectors were interested. It was the biggest professional moment of her life. And Miho was there. He stood across the gallery, more handsome than she remembered, watching her with those intense eyes that saw everything. He'd changed too, looked lighter somehow, less burdened. He'd shaved, gotten a new haircut, wore a simple black suit instead of the expensive designer clothes he'd worn before. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and it was like no time had passed at all. He didn't approach immediately. Let her do her interviews, talk to collectors, play her part. But she felt his presence the entire time, a magnetic pull she couldn't ignore. Finally, when the crowd had thinned and only a few people remained, he walked over. Congratulations. Your work is extraordinary. Thank you. And thank you for the connection. I know you made this happen. I made an introduction. Your talent did the rest. He gestured to a painting of Seoul's skyline, the one she'd done from memory. I have that view from my apartment. I know. I was painting from memory. Good memories, I hope. Complicated memories. But yes, good ones. She turned to face him fully. You look different. Good different. I got out. Not completely, not easily, but I'm out of the family business. Working legitimate ventures now, trying to make amends for past mistakes. It's been. He paused, searching for words. Hard, but worth it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. You chose yourself. That takes courage most people never find. They stood there, surrounded by her art, by physical proof of her transformation. 6 months ago, she'd been a woman trapped in a life she didn't choose. Now she was an artist, living authentically, brave enough to have walked away from safety in pursuit of truth. Why did you really help me get this exhibition? Zara asked quietly. Because I wanted to see you again. Because I needed to know if what we had was real or just a beautiful moment born from crisis. And because I promised myself that if I was going to pursue you, really pursue you, I needed to be someone worthy of it. Not a criminal. A man. A real man with a real life. And are you? That man. I'm trying to be. Every day. He stepped closer. But I'm also not going to pretend I haven't thought about you every single day since you left. That I haven't wanted to call you, text you, fly to you. I gave you space because you needed it. But now you're here, and I need to know. Did you think about me too? Zara's eyes filled with tears. Every day? Every single day. And I painted you. I painted Seoul. I painted that night, that morning, every moment we shared. You're all over these walls, Miho. You're in every brushstroke. His hand came up to cup her face. What does that mean for us? I don't know. We're still complicated. You're here. I'm building a life there. We barely know each other in the real world, away from crisis and intensity. This could be a disaster, or it could be extraordinary. His thumb brushed her cheek. I'm willing to find out if you are. No expectations, no pressure. Just two people seeing if what they have is real. Zara looked at him. This man who'd been the catalyst for her entire life changing. Who'd challenged her to be brave when she wanted to be safe. Who'd somehow become the measuring stick for what she deserved in a relationship. I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. That means it matters. What if we're terrible together? What if this whole thing was just crisis chemistry and there's nothing underneath? Then we figure that out. But what if we're not? What if we're extraordinary together? Aren't you curious enough to find out? She was. God help her, she was. 1 month, she said. I'm here for 1 month for this exhibition. Let's spend it getting to know each other for real. Sober, clear-headed, no crisis. Just us. And at the end, we'll know. And if we're good together, then we figure out the logistics. Long distance, someone moving, I don't know. But we figure it out. And if we're not, then we got closure. And we both move forward knowing we tried. Miho smiled, and it transformed his entire face. I can work with that. 1 month to prove we're more than a moment. 1 month, she agreed. He leaned down and kissed her, and it was like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. Terrifying and perfect and full of possibility. When they pulled apart, both breathless, he whispered against her lips. Fair warning. I plan to make this the best month of your life. Pretty confident. I learned from the best. A woman who challenged me to a drinking contest and won. Zara laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. You're never letting that go, are you? Never. That's the night that changed my life. Mine too, she admitted softly. For better or worse, mine too. Over the next month, they did exactly what they promised. They got to know each other in the daylight, in normal situations, without alcohol or crisis clouding their judgment. They went to museums and argued about art. They cooked together in his apartment and discovered they both burned rice. They walked through neighborhoods and parks, talking about everything and nothing. They met each other's friends, navigated cultural differences, learned each other's quirks and flaws and favorite things. It wasn't always perfect. They argued about Miho's lingering connections to his past, about Zara's tendency to run when things got intense, about what a future might look like when their lives were continents apart. But they also laughed. They created inside jokes. They fell asleep talking and woke up tangled together. They built something real, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. And at the end of the month, when Zara's exhibition was closing and she had to decide whether to extend her stay or go home, they both knew. This is real, Miho said, holding her on his balcony as Seoul glittered below them. What we have, it's real. Not just chemistry, not just a moment. Real. I know, Zara said, her heart full and terrified in equal measure. So what do we do? I come to you. I've been setting up business ventures in the States anyway. I can run them from anywhere. You need to stay there, build your career, establish yourself. I can be flexible. You can't. So I come to you. You do that? Leave Seoul. I'd follow you anywhere. I didn't get out of my old life just to build a new one alone. I did it to have a chance at something real. And you're that something, Zara. You're everything. She turned in his arms, looking up at him with tears streaming down her face. I love you. I don't know when it happened, but I love you. I love you too. Have since the night you challenged me to a drinking contest and made me feel human for the first time in years. They kissed as the sun set over Seoul, and Zara felt something she'd never felt before, certainty. The kind of certainty that meant even when things got hard, even when logistics were complicated, even when people didn't understand, she'd figure it out because this man was worth fighting for. Comment together if you're crying happy tears right now and smash that